Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're doing our final video, the 2024 Fantasy Baseball Too Early Top 10 Position Rankings. We finally do the position I hate the most, pitchers. And we're here with our top ranker, the boss man himself, Mr. Joe Bond. Joe, aren't you so excited to be doing pitchers? I know you are.
Because now I don't have to bug you. Hey, when are we doing this? Every day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna miss doing that because I love your reaction.
I meant more because of the fact that pitchers cause such a visceral response from people. There's so many pitchers, and you miss one name, and people reach out to you. And going back to your comment about you reaching out to me, yeah, I hate you. The amount of text messages like, "Are we doing this today? Doing it? Yeah, how about it?" Like, oh my god, if my dog had text messages, it would sound like that. Like, how about now? You feeling me luck? What are you gonna do? Have you stuffed my butt lately? I'm like, dude, no, just give me a second. Yes,
shut up.
All right. And we take this time to remind you to come on down and become a all-access member on fantasy6pack.net using the promo code F6PMLB24 to get 15% off. And you can, of course, get access to Joe, myself on Discord, and our articles and all the updates that are going to be coming as well. Also,
I got lots of time to respond to your questions because apparently I'm never talking to Depp.
Darn. Oh, no.
Gotcha.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. You're still my top 6 friends, along with Tom. All right. And then also, if you're starting the league, or if you need, if you're thinking, man, I hate, some of our league settings, I'm being held back, think about moving your league to Fantrax. I've moved many of my leagues to Fantrax. The customization's great. Their support's phenomenal. And most of my leagues are free, and the ones that aren't, I'm getting what I'm paying. I'm getting the value, definitely, for sure. So definitely think about starting your league as well.
Most people can play with all of their free settings. They have more settings even in their free setups than any other site out there. So it's definitely worth it.
All right. So before we hit the top 10 pitchers, as always, I am bringing up my favorite article because it's coming up and it's driving me so much happiness because of so much everybody's hate towards it. And this one, yikes. This one drives me nuts a little bit. So the top 10 for the MLB Network's top 10 players right now.
Name 3.
There's a couple here that are just mind-blowing to me, and you could be like, well, they're talking about, look, it says top 10 players right now at this position. Some of the names that are listed: deGrom, who is not going to pitch this year. Well, he's, the name he's not even, he can't be expected to be a top position right now. So you don't have deGrom. Urias is not listed on your stuff. Rodon. And I'm trying to think who else. And Ohtani, and Ohtani's not even pitching this year. So, and this came out last week. So you can't say it's old. You can't say anything. And it's supposed to be the top 10 players right now at every position. I don't get what they're doing here. This
list is the other ones. Okay, I sort of get some of the other lists because they're obviously factoring in defense and other factors. This one is completely off the wall. Where's Gerrit Cole? What?
Yep.
Where's Spencer Strider?
I can't.
Dude's threw 281 281 strikeouts, 284 strikeouts last year. Seriously?
Yep. You could argue Strider maybe 1 or 2, but not in the top 10. Get out of here with that nonsense. All right, and then I have to ask you, why aren't the following people listed at all? Edwin Diaz, Clase, Williams, Phillips, Duran. Why don't we have any relief pitchers in your top 10?
So I was being partially lazy and not doing starting pitchers, relief pitchers. No. But in reality though, it was just, I just want all pitchers together, and no relievers fall into the top 10. They're not going to have overall value. they're great pitchers, right? But I mean, you're pitching one inning every couple of games.
Right.
You know, you're hoping your best is going to be 3 strikeouts and a save.
Well, and let's take this a step further. For those people that are in Dynasty and were keeping a closer in the ones where you only have like 5 keeps and things of that nature. And for instance, Presley, now Presley is only going to be useful to you in saves and holds leagues. Because the hater signing, there's just so much movement there, especially in the saves only leagues, that there's just no reason to pick a closer this early. The value's not there. Yes, saves are hard to come by. You have to maybe pick one up in the first couple of rounds, but this early on, there's just no value there at all. Maybe Diaz, but we even saw with Diaz last year where everybody's like, oh, Diaz, then he gets hurt and you are left with nothing. It's not even like you can, yes, pitchers get hurt, but it's just such a huge drop off. There's just no reason to go that early. Anyways.
I will say last year with relievers,
yes,
kind of was one of the more predictable years. Like there wasn't as much turnover in the closer department as we've seen in years past. So like you drafted a guy, you kind of expected whatever from him, and you got whatever from him. There wasn't a lot of change like we've seen in years past where it was just like what 15 16 17 different closers lose their jobs throughout the season, if not more sometimes. Last year kind of was just kind of like, okay, here's what you got, deal with it.
So what you're saying is that we should definitely take last year as the bellwether and know that from now on, there's not going to be that much change when it comes to closers. Got it.
Absolutely.
Writing that down in pen that Joe said there won't be any changeover in closers next year. Got it. Okay.
That one next to draft Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the actual top 10 so we can help these people out on knowing who to pick.
Tarik Skubal.
Yeah, thank you. Because I was not. I know we did pre-show.
I saw the look on your face, and I was like, I gotcha.
I was like, I'm gonna say Tarik again. Tyreek Hill. All right, so the thing is, first off, he pitches in one of the friendliest ballparks for pitchers, and I mean, you're like, when I saw this name on there, I was like, was he top 10 worthy? And then I started looking deeper in his numbers, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't remember it being as good as it was. I mean, yes, the 80 innings pitched definitely stood out, but 7 wins, 3 losses. But more importantly, he brought that walk rate, the walks per 9, almost down by a full walk, and God, the K rate spiked. My goodness, that was something to behold.
That's what he finally brought over. What we were seeing from the minors, like when he first came up, it just didn't carry over. Or even if he did get some strikeouts, man, the walk rate was just so bad. You were like, can't deal with this. Like he was just not good. Yes, he's dealt with some injuries, so that's a concern that drops him down. Like if he had a full season last year of what he was doing, he'd be much higher than 10. I mean, he was outstanding. Like he didn't pitch until July 4th last year. He still started 15 games, but the innings weren't quite up there because they were limiting him early on to 4 or 5 innings, pretty early. It wasn't until like maybe a month and a half in that you saw him get to like 6. And honestly, like he was still fantastic. Every game except for that third start against the Royals was just outstanding. It was like 7 runs in 4 innings. Like, it wasn't like a complete blow up, but it wasn't good, right? But still, like he had a 2.8 ERA, and so it's gonna be impossible to project a below 3, a 2.8 ERA, whatever. But to his credit, he had a better xERA, a better FIP, and a better xFIP. So okay. Give me all of that. I'm gonna take a huge chance on him this season and just hope that he can, carry that prospect pedigree finally through to putting a whole season together and just being phenomenal.
Talent's always been there. It's just been a matter of kind of, is he going to pull it through? And of course, trying to bet on the Tigers to not be the Tigers. I mean, yes, they've developed some pitchers, but almost in spite of themselves. And I'm hoping good things from Mr. Skubal. So, all right, number 9.
Yeah. So it is Mr. Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola is a guy who I have never had in fantasy. He doesn't, to me, have like the it, right? The one thing going for him big time, right, is he's just an innings eater. And because of that, he will rack up good number of strikeouts. He is an above 9. He's been an above 10, an above 11, and above 12 in seasons past. But however, if you really think about it, that's a concern. He's dropped from 12 per 9 to 11 per 9 to 10 per 9 to now 9 per 9. So he is going the opposite direction. Walk rate is pretty much what you're getting. Like, it's been kind of up and down, but not like so big fluctuations that we're going like, what changed? It just, luck of the draw, right? Sometimes I guess with that factor. Home runs are kind of his bugaboo, right? If he gets hit hard. And so he allows a bunch of home runs. And so that is where we've seen his ERA kind of fluctuate between 3.2, 4.6, 3.2, and 4.4. So sorry, his expected, all of those numbers are usually lower than his actual ERA just because he allows a lot of home runs.
Right.
And so that's kind of abnormal. And so if you like regress to the mean with that number, then his expected numbers are going to be better. But I don't know, man. Like, he's fine. And he's gonna, you're gonna be okay with him. But he isn't like somebody that like I'd honestly, like, if I'm drafting, I'm probably taking Skubal over Nola. But I get overall value here.
Wait, hold on. I just want to make sure I got this quote correctly. So if you are in whatever round, I don't know what the ADPs are. I'm always screwing that up, so I'm not even gonna bother. And Nola and Skubal are there, and you need a pitcher. You're picking Skubal, Scooby Dooby, over Nola.
Well, no, so that plays into it, right? So like the ADPs now. Well, actually, I say that I'm just noticing now in NFBC, Nola's ADP is 50 and Skubal's is 49. So they agree with me.
Wow.
Value though, like projections value, put Nola over Skubal because and a lot of that again has to do with innings pitched, number of overall strikeouts, because you're going to get probably more from Nola overall because more innings pitched, probably more wins because he plays for a better team. That all factors in, but I think just from a pure talent standpoint, Skubal's the better pitcher.
You heard it here first. Look, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to go to Mike Curlin on Twitter while I digest everything you said. And this is really interesting too, because I didn't realize how much better Aaron Nola was in the second half. So Mike Curlin says, fun fact, Phillies Aaron Nola led all starting pitchers in the second half in O swing percentage at 40.2%. He was the only starting pitcher with an O swing percentage above 40%. Minimum 50 innings pitched.
People who don't know what O swing is, what is O swing?
That is swings in the strike zone and missing them as right there. So
is it
swing
inside or outside?
I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. It's missing swing and miss, right? Swing on your. Is it out?
It's outside the zone. Z swing.
Z's in. Yeah, darn it.
So it's outside zone swings and misses.
Because he peppers the zone so much. So yeah,
he peppers the zone, and then you can throw that.
I'm gonna get murdered about that. I know it. They're gonna be like,
the 1330 mark. I got
Dap doesn't know anything. He's an idiot. And I will tell you, you're right. You're absolutely right. And
everybody now closes the video.
Sorry, everybody. I love you. Please DM me all your insults. Anyways, all right, number 8. Pablo Lopez.
We have a little bit of. This is our good friend in the old Dynasty League that we're no longer in. 101 for trade.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he wouldn't value him this high.
I mean, all right. So go ahead. Talk to me about why you put Pablo Lopez there before I decide to go on my Pablo Lopez rant.
Oh my gosh. Am I going to have to go get a drink? So I'm not gonna lie. I was actually surprised that Lopez fell this high after did all the calculations. I was not expecting to see his name there. I like Pablo Lopez, but I was really surprised to see that he popped into the top 10. So I had to do a much bigger dive into him than I did almost anybody else on this list. Him and Skubal were the two that was like, really? Okay, hang on. Let me go take a better closer look at this one. Pablo Lopez, by the way, did you know he was the only pitcher to have higher than a 10 K per 9 rate and a lower than 2.25 walk per 9 rate?
Yep.
That is
did not know that. I didn't know. I apparently also didn't know Z swing and O swing. So
like he is the ultimate draft the better pitcher, right?
Yep.
Even though he doesn't, then like take the guy that's, might have the better pedigree or the bigger name or plays for the better team. I'm taking Lopez over Nola and so forth, because you could also say he got a little bit unlucky, right? Last year, he only won 11 games. He had 20 quality starts, tied him for 5th most. Again, just like Skubal, he had better ERA, or he had better expected ERA, better xFIP, and better FIP than his actual ERA. So he got a little unlucky at times. He allows some home runs too, which kind of gets him in trouble. That is the one thing that kind of him and Nola have, they share. But I like the strikeout upside that Lopez, at least he's trending up to where Nola's going down. And it seemed like Lopez was able to finally put it together too. Like he's kind of dealt with a bunch of injuries too. He put together a very nice, full season of innings last year. For I guess now, really the second year in a row. But since 2021 and earlier, man, he kept getting injured, and it really hurt him.
Yeah. So what I meant my rant on Pablo Lopez actually it's quite the opposite. It's not a bashing him. It's a matter of well, I think frankly he's still underrated for what he is. I mean, and a couple of things here, right? So BABIP. Let's look at the defensive change, which is strange, right? You'd think that you just off the top of your head, you'd think the Twins actually had some better D, but actually they don't. I mean, the 313 BABIP's got to come down. Yes, he's a ground ball pitcher, and his left on base is great, along with being a strikeout pitcher, which is great. But like you said, I expect those wins to go up. Considering all the underlying numbers, with his expected ERA to drop almost a half to a little bit, almost 3/4 of a run. There's a lot to like here. I still think he's undervalued. I don't care what his ADP says. If you go in and you talk about Pablo Lopez, it's not going to be like, oh my God, it's Cole or something of that nature. What I do want to talk about though is I'm not the only one who feels like that, because if you look at American Cy Young Award odds, Skubal there is plus 1600. There's Scooby and Lopez, right? Cole, Gausman, that's expected.
Framber,
that's the thing.
Wins,
right? But Pablo Lopez, they're number 4, so this isn't that far off. I definitely think he's a top 5 in American League for sure. So yeah, this is definitely something I just still think he's underloved. 194, 180 innings pitched. He's a workhorse, and he's going to put up some great peripherals for you as well.
Absolutely.
I just hope he starts feasting on the American League Central more than he did last year.
Yeah, that's super hard to do, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Mr. Zac Gallen. There's a Diamondback. Yeah. He is an interesting one for me. He did struggle a little bit down the stretch last season, but really what gets me and makes me keep him in my top 10 is just the years of very, very solid production from him. He's going to be near the top of the K per 9 leaderboard. He pitches a ton of innings, so he's not going to be near the top of the K per 9 leaderboard, but he pitches a ton of innings, so he's going to get you a lot of strikeouts at the end of the day, right? But the per game, it's going to be hard to find him striking out, 10, 11, 12 guys, right? This is not his thing. Yeah, he is, however, though, he is regularly at the top of the leaderboard in whip. And so last year he was 12th. In 2022, he was second in whip. So, he's one of those control guys, but can also strike out, over nine per nine. And so, and with the amount of innings he gets, you're going to, at the end of the season, be very happy with him.
Yeah. But, the thing is with Zac Gallen is, I love him. Don't get me wrong. But, man, sometimes when he's off, you can have a bad game. And the reason I'm letting this go, and I'm not going to go as deep as I was about to on that, is because some of the names you named here as well, right? Lopez and Skubal, especially when they're off, they're off as well. But I think the Diamondbacks are so young behind him; they're only going to get better. Carroll, especially, and some of those other names. You have another year with Moreno behind the plate. I think he's going to get even more comfortable calling games. Moreno did an amazing job last year calling games. You could see how he kind of progressed. I think the sky's the limit with the supporting cast around him, which I think is just as important. People underplay that as well. And Moreno's going to be a big part of that. God, I think Moreno's 15 this year, 16 years old. So I'm old
next year.
Yeah, he just got his driver's license. But yeah, I mean, I think Gallen's still, a very, very good pitcher. He's just, honestly, again, this is another one of those which very similar to the outfield top 10, where I was a little surprised he was where he was in your projections. And then I started looking at the rest and I was like, yeah, who am I moving? Where would I move these guys?
I mean, and look, there are a ton of guys. Pitching is probably the most volatile position out there. It's tough, man. Anybody could come to me with a complete. I think the top 3, 4, 5 would probably be in everybody's top 10,
right?
But after that, you could argue another 15 players belong in the top 10. Pitching is, man, the slimmest of margins when it comes to ranking. It is the toughest position to rank. Some guys are good at strikeouts. Some guys are good at ERA and whip, especially when you mix in relievers and starters, it's wins versus saves, what's more valuable. It's really, really tough. And with relievers too, like we mentioned it earlier, obviously relievers aren't going to rack up as many strikeouts as, a starter would overall. But, so where's that, okay, but this reliever is going to give me 60 strikeouts, and that's still really valuable because his ERA and whip is 0.5.
Right.
When does that play in? And so it's the slimmest of margins more than any other position. And I believe me, I look at the guys left out, Framber Valdez, right? Glasnow, Webb, Freddie Peralta, Max Fried, tons, and I could go on, man. Easily, I could argue they could belong in the top 10. This is what I fell at right now, and I guarantee you it will change if it hasn't already before the start of the season.
Yeah, I mean, so sorry, 1 second. Let me just change the banner.
Picture rant.
Yeah, there you go. Let me just change the banner there at the bottom.
You didn't change one for your Pablo Lopez love story.
Well, I mean, I tried to play the background music, but apparently StreamYard didn't like love story. So, anyways, okay, are you okay now, Joe?
We're good. We're good.
All right. Do you want us to pause it for a little bit? You use a paper bag and take some deep breaths.
We're good. Just trying to explain the process to people.
I know, but and that's the thing too, right? I mean, there's so many, and no matter how well you rank, you're going to be wrong. That's one of the reasons I love Pitcher List. And I love, some of those other guys because they put it out there every time and trying to figure out who that dark horse is. I mean, if you had Skubal anywhere in your top 25, I would call you crazy last year. Start off, it just didn't show.
Well, we knew he wasn't going to start early on, but yeah.
So, but that's how it is, and we got to put it out there. So number 6, Joe, unless you have more.
No, we're good. Let's move on.
Okay. All right.
Luis Castillo. I think this is the start of he belongs in the top 10. For sure.
Yes. Yeah. No doubt here.
Castillo was a guy that everybody, including myself, sort of hemmed and hawed about for so long, right? Because pitching in Cincinnati, he had good seasons, he had bad seasons, and started righting the ship, right there at the end of Cincinnati. But even then, man, 2020 was really good. Then 2021 kind of slid back again. You're like, what's going on, man? Can this guy ever stay consistent? The weird thing about 2021, right, is the strikeouts dropped considerably, right, for him. And that was always like, oh, man, Castillo just throwing gas. You got it. Moved to Seattle, and we're now getting an even better Luis Castillo than I think anybody was hoping for. So just because we've already spent so much time with the other guys. I mean, this is gonna be really simple to rip through the rest of these guys. They're all really good.
What?
Really, really good. High K potential for all of these guys. Some, we're just gonna see it get better and better. And I think Castillo is Cy Young candidate worthy for sure.
Well, can I just point out one thing, which I thought was really interesting? This is Luis Castillo's ERA with the temperature outside. So if you see a slow start in March, April, May, definitely he heats up as the temperature heats up. I mean, that's crazy. It's linear, almost exactly. Look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so. Yeah. When I saw that
track of this stuff. Oh my god.
Well, we also can find, fingernail polish. I don't know, but this is great. So if you see him, kind of stumbling along in April and, early April, especially in Seattle.
Although it's funny, he had a 1.82 ERA in April last year.
I was about to say, then you have to correlate it, but then again, baseball being baseball, he killed it last year. So who knows? I just thought this was interesting.
September and October were not so kind to him.
Nope. So he's liking global warming, unlike most people. So that's all I can really think of. But yeah, that was a really interesting stat that we saw there on from Brooksgate on Twitter. All right, number 5, top 5 here.
I think this one belongs in the top 10. But where is going to be debated by a lot of people.
All right.
Edwin Gausman. I have seen him be number 3. I have seen him be probably all the way down to 10 in the various lists that you can see all over the place. He is all over the place. Look, last year, strikeout machine. He's finishing 3rd, only behind Strider and Blake Snell in K rate. These are the reasons why I cannot put him higher. So at this point, like I said, everybody's good. Now we have to kind of nitpick and figure out why I have them where they are and not higher, right? So they're higher than the guys behind them because either like more wins, lower whip, lower ERA, more strikeouts, whatever the combination is, that's what got them there. But why aren't they above the guys ahead of them, right? The thing with me is that he had, in 2022, we saw Gausman's BABIP like crazy high of 363. And so you're hoping last year he could have improved on that, which would have improved his 3.35 ERA, right? He did, but his BABIP was still 321 last year, which is still concerning. And it only had his ERA dropped to 3.16. Look, still fine numbers. Like at the end of the day, a 3.16 ERA, like from a starting pitcher giving you 200 innings almost, is
3.16
phenomenal.
Send him to the minors. How dare you?
But it's not as good of a correction as we hoped. And what's happening is his barrel rate, his barrel percentage is rising, right? It rose to a career 9.8% last year, career high. Hitters are kind of sitting on that fastball, which is his big strikeout pitch, right? And they're just, when they make contact with it, man, they're crushing it. And so, it gets a lot of swings and misses, but it also has the opposite effect too, and it's a detriment to him. So, if he can get his, if he can get a second pitch to really, really work for him, I think that's going to be much better for him. Like, I know he's got other pitches, but like he needs another like super out pitch like that.
Right.
And I'll say this too, going back on the reason why like his BABIP probably didn't drop as much between 2022 and 2023. In 2022, like even though he had that huge BABIP mark, his walk rate was 3.9. It went up to 7.2 last year. His career is right around 7, so you can probably guess anywhere between 6 and 7 as his walk rate. So maybe the BABIP is just what it's going to be, and he's just going to either be, he's going to have games where he gets destroyed because the strikeouts aren't there, or but more often than not, he's going to give you all the strikeouts, and he's going to have a really nice outing.
Yep. I agree. I mean, the thing is that I expect a bounce back from a lot of the Toronto players like Vlad, et cetera, that so hopefully give him some additional firepower that seems to be kind of not very consistent. He's going to give up runs. Gausman's never been a guy who's just going to give you zeros across the board. So he's going to give up runs. So he needs that run support so that you can get a more palatable, 14 wins like in 2021, 14 wins, 6 losses or something along that nature. So I'm really hoping that gets kicked up a little bit, because 12-9 is not going to do it, because you are drafting starting pitchers for their ratios and for some wins as well. But I know
I don't play in wins leagues though.
I know.
I wrote about that in the article. Please, quality starts at the very least.
Yeah.
But go over to Fantrax where you can use quality appearances, which is the far better stat. There's a whole article that I linked to about what quality appearances is. Please go read it. I promise.
And that's why there's an icon right above my head that's going to say paid promo in this video. Way to go, Joe. Way to shoehorn that in there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, that's I think there's a lot of goodness there. There's a lot of upside. That's why they have him as the second highest Vegas odds for Cy Young. And I love me some Gausman. So I don't think there's much else there unless you have some final Gausman love.
Nope. We are probably going to talk a little bit more about Gausman with the next pitcher, because I compared them in the article, and I'm going to do the same here. And it is Zack Wheeler.
All right.
When these rankings first got, I went through all the number crunching. Gausman came out ahead of Wheeler. I flipped it myself. It was just like, I just didn't like what was coming out. It was super close. It wasn't like, it was far and away Gausman over Wheeler. I know Gausman, had that incredible strikeout rate. It's not like Wheeler's bad. I mean, it's a 26% K rate. It's still like top of the food chain type of thing. Win projections are pretty much garbage. Win projections are almost identical, right? They both play for, good teams. The thing that gets me, and which is why I pick Wheeler over Gausman, is, I don't think the strikeout difference is going to be as big as the ratio difference between a Wheeler and a Gausman, right? And so when you start getting into that, right, Gausman's whip the last couple of seasons 1.24 and 1.18. Wheeler's is 1.04 and 1.08. Sounds like a small number, but it's really not, right? That is huge, right? And a lot of it is thanks to the walk rates, right? 7% to 5% last year. That is a huge difference. It really is when it comes to pitching. Like that 2% walk rate means you're allowing that many less base runners for free.
Right.
It's going to lower all of your ratios. Whip, obviously, right? Because that matters. That affects it directly. But then obviously your ERA gets affected because you're having more guys potentially score, and the opportunities to score is bad. So I want the guy who's going to keep base runners off base when everything else is pretty close.
So I do have to ask you, right? So the left on base percentage, I know a lot of it sometimes that deals with luck, sometimes it deals with defense and some other aspects as well. But that left on base percentage came down from last year. From the year before to last year, from 77 to 71%. And the ground ball percentage also dropped a little bit, while the home run fly ball was almost exactly the same. Are any concerns there at all? As you kind of go up there, or do you think is that a defense thing, or is that something else? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, yeah, that could rise a little bit. But I mean, look, he's had 71% before, so it's not like he can't do it again. 71, 74, 75, then 77, then right back to 71. Like, I mean,
I guess more my point was, and I apologize, I should have set you up better, but he's such a good pitcher that it really, sometimes when you get to these top 4 pitchers, these top 5 pitchers, the underlying stats don't really matter so much. Because we're starting to just really fine tune and really trying to get to that last bit because, I agree with you 100%. I think Wheeler's just an absolute stud and I am not that concerned about it. I think there's room for improvement, which is amazing to say.
I think one reason why you're seeing a slight dip in the left on base percentage, right, is and compared to like a Kevin Gausman, right? So Kevin Gausman's left on base percentage is higher. And there's a reason for it, right? Is Gausman's a bigger strikeout pitcher, but because he relies on that strikeout much more than a Wheeler does, right? So Gausman might let the guy on base in front of him because he might, walk him because he's trying to get the strikeout, but then he'll strike out the next guy and get that third out, to where Wheeler, might not get the strikeout, might either walk him or allow a hit, and then he lets up the home run or something, right? Because he doesn't have as big of a strikeout potential as a Wheeler. So yes, that is kind of like, I mean, that plays into like kind of where I flip-flopped it, but I just like the pitcher when they're this close that has the better control.
So real quick before we go to the next one, and I love all that about Wheeler. I love this pitcher ninja award for the deadliest sinker of the year went to Zack Wheeler. I gotta show this because it's hilarious. Look at this beautifulness. I mean,
who was that?
That's against the Rockies. Oh man, yeah. So needless to say, awesome. That's he's just pitcher ninja, you scamp. Okay, number 3 on your list.
Where like the sword comes out, it's like. Those are great. Number 3, Corbin Burnes.
He's a rookie, right? Corbin Burnes. Sorry.
He's a guy who I know it was a bit of a down year for him last year. K rate dropped, walks went up. Everything was the opposite for him than what you expected, right? I'm just buying a bounce back, honestly, and I think a lot of people are. Projections are really liking him. He started off really bad too, to the point where a lot of people were like, "Is this dude pitching injured?" Because he looks really bad. Like it, and I kind of was like, man, I wouldn't be one bit surprised if it came out and like he was dealing with shoulder fatigue or something twinged or something. And he just like didn't tell anybody because it didn't look right. He sort of righted the ship, later on, but. Overall, like the season wasn't what you expect from him, but because his kind of first 2.5-ish months of just not Burnes pitching, that we're used to, 4.01 ERA, 3.3, then 4.9 in June, almost a 5. July, it was like, oh, okay, he's back, 1.85. He's on fire, So he came back, and we got the Burnes that we expected. So I'm just believing that, the start to last year was kind of a hiccup, and we're going to get the normal Corbin Burnes that we all know and love.
Yeah. And I mean, just to keep going on that, right? I mean, he was almost a K.5 lower on his K per 9 than the year before. Almost an entire point up for walks per 9. I mean, it was all over the place. His home runs per 9 somehow was exactly the same as the year before. A lot of that has to do with just how good he did and kind of coming back in the later part of the season. But you're right. I mean, he had such a bad stretch there.
I mean, you want to go into the ratio. You want to go into like the rates, man. First half, K per 9, 8.5. Walks was 3.2. Home runs was 1.17. In the second half, that K rate, K per 9 went up to 10.22. Walks dropped to 2.8. And home runs per 9 dropped to 0.83. Everything drastically improved. And so you're seeing it, you see the results from it.
Yeah, and here's one thing, and I was trying to look it up because I'm obviously sharing my screen here. So back on April 17th, Corbin Burnes had to leave the game with what was described as a minor injury. We kind of talked about it during one of our shows back then, and the injury looked serious, but then later was diagnosed as a left pectoral strain. As you know, without me having to tell you, because neither one of us are professional pitchers, but any kind of area in the upper torso, especially or the legs, but upper torso, if anything kind of gets off, it throws off a lot of stuff. And I'm wondering if he just played through that type of injury. Just
Which
the
is
numbers
crazy to think,
right? But at the same, it's not like Milwaukee was going to win the World Series or anything. But at the same time, he's a professional player. In the sense that he's never been a guy that's like, woe is me, pulling me out. But that would explain a lot. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist, I don't know this stuff. But if I had to guess, just by looking at these numbers, something was wrong. Mm-hmm. And I would expect a huge bounce back this year. And I totally agree with your ranking. He's too darn good. So
yeah, I mean, he's going late second round, and the NFBC 25 is not late second round. A lot of them are 15 team leagues, but he's 25 overall in NFBC. I don't take a lot of pitchers super high, but that might be one where I pull the trigger on, because I think he could outproduce that ADP.
Yeah,
for sure. So moving over here too, and I'm just gonna lump these two together. I mean, they were like 1A, 1B for me. Gerrit Cole was 2.
Shocker.
And I put Spencer Strider number 1.
Okay, can we just stop this real quick? How is Spencer going back? Because this made me so darn upset. How is Spencer Strider not even in the top 10 of the MLB now? That's right? Just
like both of these guys weren't in there.
Oh my god. I mean, Strider's been 1 and 2, however you want to argue it, right? 1 and 2 in the last 3 years, and for him not to be in the top 10, anyways. All right, sorry. Go ahead. I stepped all over you. I was waiting for Strider because I was so mad about that whole situation.
That is bizarre. The Gerrit Cole, he has been like people were out on him. People were not believing that he was like the best pitcher in baseball, and like maybe he wasn't last year. Maybe it was Strider, although you could argue maybe even with the strikeouts, Cole was better overall. The ERA dropped to 2.63, right? We're losing a little bit of Ks from him. His K per 9 dropped to 9.56. K percentage was 27%. The first time it was below 11 and 32 since 2017. So, maybe slight concern, but maybe he's just getting a little older and realizing he needs to be a smarter pitcher and not just blow everybody away, right? He can't get away with that. A lot of older pitchers start realizing that, and sometimes they can, you just start learning how to pitch better, right? Be smarter about it, still get enough Ks to be very, very effective and very fantasy friendly, but not then start having your ERA go through the roof because you are losing a tick on your fastball, right? And so that happens. And so I'm not worried about Cole at all. He has been one of the most consistent pitchers for a long time. I'm not worried about Cole at all. That said, Strider, even though he had the second half for him was outside of strikeouts was fairly forgettable. Not a good ERA. I believe it was like 4.3 something in the second half. If you want to click over to splits there and pull it up for me. Sure. But I mean, that strikeout rate of 13.5 it's just out of this world good, man. 281 total strikeouts.
Right.
It's just really tough to ignore that. That was Gerrit Cole, man, like a couple of years ago. And so, league high K rate of 36.8%, 5.3% higher than the next highest guy.
So, wow. so just slightly good.
He's able to keep the whip down. So, I couldn't fully pinpoint exactly, what the cause of the, my guess is that home runs sort of played into the factor there for why his ERA got up. And so, he's a young guy too. So he's going to have to learn, I need to be able to do something else besides just throw it by everybody. Cause
So if you see it, home runs on the first half, he gave up 13, and in the second half, he gave up 9.
But the number of innings is
but that's the big thing. His innings dropped, so I can't remember what.
You can go through the if you go through, like, you can look at like home runs per 9 there. It's a little bit lower. I forget where it is there. Home runs per 9. Weird. It's actually less.
Anything else you want to?
I told you I was having a tough time figuring out exactly where.
I agree. Look, the thing is,
strikeouts went down a little bit in the second half. It's going to be fatigue. Who knows?
The thing is a Strider, right? The ceiling is sky high. Just, it's ridiculously high. Cole is, what you're going to get with Cole. Strider, you don't even have like a small inkling of where we're at right now with that talent that he has.
Legit could be better. I mean, because
absolutely,
he's young. I mean, Cole's 33. Strider's 25. So like he could legit be better. I will say this though. I mean, like, look, we've seen pitchers come in and be amazing, right? And then once the book is really written on them, they have a couple tough years, and then it takes them another couple of years to like figure it out, right? Hopefully that's not a Strider, but the Braves,
let's highlight the important part here. If the book's written, and the other thing too, just going back to kind of the Gausman strikeout pitch, he's kind of a 2-pitch pitcher here that throws in that change. I would love to see him kind of throw in that changeup. Can be really deadly. And I just hope he can start using it more. I mean, the fastball's so good, but like you said, like maybe people stop swinging at that and start sitting on different pitch. That's the only thing that I would be concerned about. But obviously, I'm not going to be concerned enough not to draft him as one of my first pitchers. My goodness, are you kidding me?
If you want to go get the top pitcher, you're going to have to get him in, the back end of the first round. But it's if he can add a third pitch that is used a lot, then I think he will. Because he's 4-seamer slider, and after that, it's like barely anything else. And so if he can add a third pitch, look out, he's going to be deadly.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like then you look at Cole, who I know was never, this type of pitcher where he had 5 legitimate pitches. He's probably a 3 pitcher. Then he had that 4th.
Well, he added a cutter last season, and it wasn't that great last year or 2 years ago. Last year, it got really good, and that's why I think we saw the drop in the. It's a different pitch repertoire, so we saw the drop in Ks because it maybe wasn't as big of a strikeout pitch, but it was a more of a contact pitch that was got him more outs. Yeah,
and I think. It's weird that somebody who went to the Yankees would learn a cutter. That's so strange. I couldn't think of anybody who could possibly teach a cutter at the Yankees. But it's so unfair. I would love to.
I just laughed that I think back at how much. I ultimately I could not stomach Gerrit Cole drafting him after he left the Pirates. I was like. I don't know why this guy's thought of it so good. Like he's been pretty miserable in Pittsburgh. He goes to New York and they're like, yeah, just go pitch. Like, yeah, you can throw that pitch. Why not? Apparently, like Pittsburgh wasn't letting him do everything. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like Gausman left the Orioles and they let him just like throw his pitches. And it's like, oh, he's one of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah, we're not gonna nitpick you at 30. In your 30s, you kind of know what you got to do at this point. Maybe we'll put your foot one different place, but yeah, you go do you. And I
pitch their best pitches and stop holding them back.
It's like Mike Messina when he left the Orioles too. It's like he was already great, but then he was like yeah, just the Yankees. I'm gonna just do whatever I need to do, and like cool. Go be free. Anyways, well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching with us as we we went through all these top 10 lists. This is our last episode here. Oh, thank you. I went to the wrong one. I think
it does that automatically. I don't know why.
But definitely want to thank you. But real quick, any kind of big things here on drafting pitchers? I always want to tell people. This pocket aces thing is really funny and cute to come up with a saying, but I think it's the dumbest thing to do when people lead with 2 pitchers. I think there's so much depth here that you could pick up places, and with injuries and waiver wire, I think there's just so many places you could play there in scarcity elsewhere.
Strategy that people like put out there because they wanted people to do it.
Yes. Oh man, we came up with a great name.
It, man. Having a Strider and a Gausman on your team would be phenomenal. But man, you're gonna get crushed. The drop off in the hitters, especially like some of these infield positions that we've covered.
Yeah,
man, it falls off the cliff early, like after pick 4 or 5 at the position, and then you're like, well, what am I left with now?
Yeah, going to like Mookie Betts in second base, right? He's so far above everybody else. It just doesn't make sense. And so I'm here to tell you, do not do pocket aces. Do not start your draft with pocket aces. If you do, and you end up winning your league, please, by all means, DM me at DapScout and just tell me.
Don't DM you. Blast him on Twitter.
Yeah, sorry, blast me. Well, blast me along with
I said anything negative about
right Z contact and O contact and all that percentage fun stuff that we had on as well. But yeah, please, by all means, you rake me over the coals. But I think you're absolutely losing out on the ability to crush it at other positions by doing that. Anyways, but thank you so much for watching. For myself and Joe Bond and the whole team at Fantasy Six Pack, we thank you so much for watching and have a great season.
Thank you for putting this together and leading the way, man. I had fun doing it. And we will be back for more videos shortly, I bet. So stay tuned, guys. See ya.
All right, thanks. Bye.